Okay, it's 7:30 on Tuesday, the 8th of February, and I would like to call the regular council meeting of the city of Twinsburg to order. Shannon, would you call the roll?
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Post?
Here.
Mr. Bellin?
Here.
Mrs. Walker? Present. Mrs. Labby? Here. Mr. Barr?
Here.
Okay. Next, we will have the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Barr. Would everybody please rise?
Father, we seek your guidance for the business that is before us. In planning for the future of the city of Twinsburg, give us vision. Guide us to make decisions that are not self-serving, but for the betterment of our community, so we can continue to move in a positive direction. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes from our January 25th meeting, would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Barr seconds. Any discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby? Yes. Mrs. Walker? Yes. Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes. Okay, the minutes are passed. Awards and presentations. We do have one this evening. We have our engineer here, Amy Moore, and she would like to give a presentation.
Thank you, Council. This presentation is for the Stormwater Management Plan as part of the NPDS program. Every year, I kind of give you a quick, brief overview of our NPDS program, National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. It's a permit program through the Ohio EPA, and this is your educational component. But on top of that, basically, we were part of the program, and I want to thank, actually, first, I want to thank you for backfilling my position of Assistant Director of Engineering. Patrick Jeffers actually created this presentation. My embellishment will take it a little bit longer, but it's actually a short presentation if I don't embellish too much, so don't blame him for the embellishment. He presented to the Environmental Commission in February the program. So since, I got this. Ooh. The other way? The back button is the one that goes. Okay. Since 2003, we've been under a permit from the Ohio EPA for stormwater. In 2000, this is a new permit. Those permit periods last about 5 years, so we're on an updated permit. And in 2001, we decided to separate from the countywide permit. In 2003, we entered with the county, and about 26 other communities went with us because it was a new program. Nobody had an idea of what the EPA was expecting, and we developed a program together. We developed a lot of memorandum of understanding and agreements with other agencies, and we will still use those as a separate permittee. We will still be with the Summit County Soil and Water Conservation District, the Health Department, Tinkers Creek Watershed. We will still use all those resources and those agreements, but we will be under separate permit. One of our main reasons for going separate is the county is kind of moving into a stormwater management district, and they're requiring, if you're going to be on their permit, be part of that district, and that district has a $4 per month fee per resident and a $4 on commercial property for 3,000 square feet of impermeable surface that they would be charging those. And we at this point didn't want to encumber that on our residents. Although this is an unfunded mandate that the EPA has on, we have covered it with general fund and staff and all of our memorandum of understandings with other groups to accomplish our goals. So as part of being a separate permittee, we're required to have our own stormwater management plan. So we updated the plan that the county had for the most part. We used it as our base, tweaked it according to the Twinsburg's requirements, and then added the new requirements of the new permit period. One of their major things had to do with total maximum daily loads, TMDLs, and if I get too many abbreviations, call me out on it. And that had to do with total phosphorus and fecal coliform that is actually found in waters. It's the higher levels when you actually sample Tinkers Creek, so it's in bacterial, nutrient, sediment loadings. So as part of, went the wrong way. As part of the permit process, we are required to cover 6 minimum measures, and I will go through each of these independently, so I'm going to jump from the slide. The first one is public education, public outreach. So what we did to the stormwater management plan is we modified it to cover the new TMDL requirements in the permit. So it's pretty much the same. We're still using Tinkers Creek, Watershed, Summit County, Soil and Water, and the Environmental Commission as our agents to try and get a lot of this information out. The second control measure is very similar, public involvement, public participation. And again, these same agencies do that type of stuff. We do stream cleanups, we have done Earth Days, we've done Recycle Days and all those types of things, as well as these other agencies do news articles and other educational workshops. So those are pretty much covered the same way they will be as they were before, and mirror very much the Summit County plan. The third control measure is illicit discharge detection and elimination, and there was a change to this plan that basically requires us to train all of our employees on illicit discharge detection and elimination annually. We always had a training component in the plan before where we trained, different people trained on ordinances or regulations that could do things or how they did with their individual job. But this is kind of a citywide training that we will be rolling out over this permit period. We're also now required to notify the Ohio EPA within 24 hours of any illicit discharge associated with a cross connection from an industrial, commercial, or multifamily source, or any broken sewer system, sanitary sewer system that maybe cause a leakage. We still use the Summit County Health Department because we still have septic systems associated with those type of things, and that's how we will deal with septic systems. The next control measure is control measure 4. It is construction site stormwater runoff control. We, again, went through our memorandum of understanding with the Summit County Soil and Water District. They do all of our reviews when a site of certain size comes in through Planning Commission. It's required by Planning Commission that it be submitted to them, and they'll do the review, and they also do the inspection, and they do this by charging the developers a fee to cover their expenses. So it's really not to a cost to us, it's a pass-through, but they meet our permit requirements. The one thing that they are changing there is frequency of inspection. Originally, when the plan rolled out in 2003, we were doing it every 2 weeks, but the actual permit only called it once a month. Summit County had rolled back to a once a month inspection. Now, if there's certain criteria, they'll have to go out biweekly. And those basically, again, they'll have notice of violations and way of recouping funding there. So they are our big partner associated with that program. The post-construction stormwater management requirement, the city had implemented a long-term maintenance agreement with all applicants where they're required to do their own inspection of those post-construction best management practices. So if they put in a rain garden or their detention pond has certain water quality features, they have to make sure that it's still functioning. And we did that through annually requesting the reports and chasing those down. The new permit requires us physically as a city to either hire an inspector or to do it ourselves in that 5-year period to go out and look at all those sites. I think we've got about, I'm guessing, around 30 sites registered right now over that time period. And Patrick is qualified to do those, and he's already done 14 of those inspections in January this year. So we've incorporated saying we're going to do what we're supposed to do, and we have the means to do it. And then finally, minimum control number 6 is pollution prevention, good housekeeping for municipal operations. So what we added to the program is we actually have all of our sites where we've gone out and shown where all the catch basins, all the storm sewers, how the water flows off the site, and could be a problem if it's not addressed, if something occurs. So that has been incorporated in the plan. We've incorporated that we're basically going to stabilize sites whenever our service department does certain work around waterways, that they have a certain time period to stabilize those. And we've also basically incorporated, we were required to follow the TMDL and pick a solution or an item. We were already doing one of those items that was in the selection, and that was street sweeping. So we street sweep at least 2 times a year, and that was a requirement. So we basically said, yes, we will continue doing that, and that will now meet that code or requirement. So what we have done with this program is we have presented to Environmental Commission at their last meeting, and we asked them to review the plan. You all got a draft plan. Mark posted the plan up on the city website, and because this is a public meeting, public comment can be occurred at it. You'll have 3 more readings. The plan will be on the website. Is it up here, Mark? Yeah. Okay. And And anybody that wants to comment via the website can comment, and we'll try to incorporate those. This plan has to be filed with the annual report in April, which is due April 1st, so we will file it with April 1st, so that's why we're starting these readings now, and we're trying to incorporate this and get public comment and get public opinion. The plan is a living document, so if we don't incorporate everybody's comments or do adjust, we can adjust the plan in the future as we move forward. But anybody that does have comment has a way or an opportunity to comment on that. You have the document, you have, if you have any questions, go ahead and you can get a hold of me and let me know. So our goal is, like I said, it will go back to Environmental Commission in March. We're hoping they'll make a recommendation to council. You guys at one of your March meetings will do the third reading. We'll get it finalized, and we'll submit it with our annual report, which is due April 1st. Any questions?
Are there any disadvantages to this as opposed to what
we were doing? Well, the disadvantage was what I stated first, that we probably have to join the stormwater, the Summit County Stormwater Management District, and our residents would all be charged $4 a month. Now, that district wouldn't necessarily cover 100% of what these items incurred. That district has to do with larger scale projects, things that are implemented. In 2006, we had some major flooding in the city of Twinsburg. We addressed a lot of our stormwater. We didn't put Band-Aids on it. We actually addressed stormwater issues. We've built detention ponds. We've done stuff. And one of my last projects was a culvert that went under 91 that occurred last year to kind of stop the flooding of the ramp that went under 480. So what we have now is we have localized issues. On a big storm, people will call with, oh, my backyard is flooded, which really isn't a street or a whole neighborhood flooding. It's just depends where the water falls on that particular rain event, may or may not impact small scale. But we've done a lot of our regional development. So there's not many regional programs we have. We did the Laurel Creek restoration. We've done, other projects that we've partnered with Summit County in pond book restoration with the Liberty Park purchase. So they've restored a lot of the headwaters to Tinkers Creek that come back through Tinkers Creek. So where we would need funding for stormwater has to do with maintenance of the storm system. It is all covered right now under the general fund, and that's the source that covers a lot of that infrastructure that eventually deteriorates and will need repair.
Gotcha. Patrick made it sound at the last meeting like Twinsburg is, it's nice that we're able to do this to save the residents $4 per household, because a lot of cities cannot do this. Or they said there was a lot of planning over years that our infrastructure allows this. So I thought that was kudos to the city.
Yeah, we have done a lot.
So it's a kudos to the city that all the things that you've done ahead of time has saved us that money now. So I think it's great.
Thank you.
I just wondered if there's any challenges that we'll face breaking away from the district.
The only, right now, previous to this, I always prepared an individual report and submitted to the county that would then incorporate all the reports together. So now we will submit an annual report by ourselves. The only difference is we used to divide the permit fee among 26 communities, whatever they charge for the permit. So our actual permit fee is up a little bit in costs, but we're not talking phenomenal amounts of money. It really came down to what the impact would be. That would go into more of a countywide program. Countywide says they try and push money back to the cities, but how that disbursement would occur, because we have made a lot of those things. It can't say that in X number of years that as this program regenerates that we won't need money or funds to do things associated with the programming, and then we have to look at that. EPA will not take, we don't have the funding to do it, because there's a lot of communities doing these utilities. Northeast Regional Sewer District has a utility. There's a number of cities that have utilities and fees associated with it. But at this time, we're able to still meet a lot of the requirements by divvying out the work between departments that can address those types of things, and for the most part, meeting the permit requirements that are currently on the books associated with the work that needs to be done.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Amy.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to audience participation.
First, we have Sue Clark.
Good evening, Council. Sue Clark, 9845 Crestwood Drive. Mayor, Law Director, good evening. At the January 25th caucus meeting, I spoke about snow plowing, residents' driveway in the city of Twinsburg. I wanted to let you know that I called the building department and found out we have 30 permits in use. And I was also told currently that they are not using the decals. So it might be a good time to think about changing to the window clings. I also called and spoke to the mayor about a young man who works for the city. His name's Jaron. He plowed our senior driveways and did a phenomenal job. He did not plow in one sidewalk. He pushed the snow to the right and left of the driveways. And when he got to the end, he actually back drug it and pushed it to the side of the mailboxes. And I said to him, "Can I ask why you did that?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am." He said, "If I make this mound high," he goes, "they can't see backing out of their driveway. They're seniors." I thought, wow. Now there's a kid who really takes some pride in what he's doing. He was phenomenal. He was polite. He took his time. He did the driveways correctly. And if I could make a recommendation, he needs to be the trainer for the city. I mean, for private guys and the city plow guys. That kid was great, and he's only been doing it 4 months. I was shocked. So I had talked to Ted about it, but I really think you guys need to give him a shout out. That kid was so good. I can't believe that. I've never seen somebody plow a driveway. He even plowed behind our neighbor's van so that Tim could dig the rest of it out because he's got a handicapped daughter, so he can go and pick her up. I mean, he was just great. I can't say enough about that. So maybe we could look into that. And I just wanted to let you guys know what I found out about the permits and the decals so that maybe we could look at that as well. Thanks, Council. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you.
Next, we have Matt Nolan.
I saw that she put snow plowing. I was positive she was going to complain, and every council meeting I had somebody's complaining. That was so nice. My name is Matt Nolan, Vice President of Development with Funnel Hill Development in Lebanon, Ohio. Here representing Pet Suites. We have a project planned on Darrow Road that was discussed during earlier today. Just here to answer any questions that anyone has regarding the Pet Suites project, and also want to thank staff, especially Lynn. She's been phenomenal to work with. We don't always, I don't know, sometimes we're in our own little bubble. We think things are always that way. We build these all over the country. It is not usually that way. Lynn has been great and really helpful to us, so I appreciate that, and just here to answer any questions that anybody has.
Everybody good?
Are you in front of the planning commission yet?
We just submitted everything today, so we'll be at the planning, we're at the Architectural Review Board in 2 weeks and the Planning Commission in 3, I believe.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
I have a question. I have 2 dogs.
Yes.
One is my daughter's, one is my granddaughter's, and they live with us. Okay, so if I were to take them to Pet Suites,
Yes.
what would they get? One, is it an overnight? Is
Yep.
it a month stay?
It's any and all that you want, as long as you're willing to pay for it. And there,
Good night sleep, priceless.
and there's a variety, So there we have high-end private suites. I was discussing earlier with the property owner that people pay for that, and you get a TV. It's on Animal Planet. It's on History Channel. Whatever you want. Or there's the more standard. But yeah, we have overnight stay. About half of our stays are usually overnight, long weekends, that kind of thing. And the other half are daily, hey, I've got to get on a Zoom call. I can't have this dog barking in the background, or I just want my dog to be socialized. So they have that. They also have dog grooming so that the dog comes back smelling nice and all of that. So those are the services that Pet Suites offers. But it is different than what I grew up with, where you drop your dog off and they go run around outside for hours. That's not this. There's a person with them all of the time, 100% of the time there's a person there. It's really almost identical to where I put my kids in daycare for dogs. It's treated almost the same, and our customers expect the same, so that's kind of what we shoot for.
Okay, so there is a place outside that they can run around.
Absolutely. There's an outdoor dog run, but they only are out till 8 o'clock, never later than 8 p.m. Because even though we're in an industrial zone, we still have neighbors. We don't, we're very cognizant of that. So yes, but there's an outdoor play area that they're in and all dogs go to. And then there's private outdoor areas that some dogs are allowed to go in if they're, again, you know, that's a special thing that their owner requests.
Massages in the morning.
How many dogs can you accommodate in?
It ranges. There's about 80 dogs is kind of about the max, but they're never all out at the same time. We rarely ever get to that high level. Sometimes in the holiday seasons, 50, 60 is more common for the busy times of the year.
Okay. Is that it, Council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have this evening.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, we will move on to communication committee reports. Mr. Post.
Yes, thank you. Let me open up my notes here. I did go to the Environmental Commission meeting. Of course, this is not opening now. On February 1st, we did get the presentation from Patrick Jeffers, kind of the meeting we got tonight, but a little more extensive. Again, I touched on it before, but I think it's awesome that Twinsburg doesn't have to have that cost of $4 per house per month, because we do meet certain criteria that a lot of cities do not. So I think this is a fabulous thing here. And that was most of it. Arbor Day is April 29th, just after Earth Day, and they're looking to do a community cleanup day. So there's going to be more information about that. June, they're looking to do a document shredding. Stay tuned to that. And late summer, there's going to be some type of electronic recycling as well. So all kinds of things coming up. No specific dates for those things yet, but the next meeting is March 1st, 7 o'clock. All is welcome here to join. And that's my report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fury.
Thank you and good evening. The ARB meeting of 2/3 of February 3rd was canceled due to weather. Next scheduled ARB meeting is on the 17th. I attended on the 25th of January, a half-a-day work session with the Jedi Commission. The next work session scheduled is for March 9th, and I plan on attending that. The CIC will be tomorrow night at 5 p.m. in council chambers, I believe. Thank you. And the next Finance Committee meeting will be on February 22nd. Other than that, I'd like to wish Karen a happy birthday today. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Barr.
Good evening. Thank you. Since our last meeting, none of my committees have met. However, we do have a tentative planning commission meeting set up for the Monday the 28th at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. Some more shall be revealed as information becomes available. And thank you to our folks from Pet Suites. They were at the last planning commission meeting and presented what sounds like a pretty neat project here. So appreciate your interest and investment in the community. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I attended the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting last week, and unfortunately, we had, what did we have there? We had Appeal number 1, 2022, and unfortunately, the owners or the applicants did not show to the meeting, so that was delayed, and I believe it'll be held at the next meeting coming up, which is on February 23rd at 6:30 here in the council chambers. So that's the next meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and that was all was on the agenda that evening. Other than that, just look forward. The Safety Committee meeting, which I will be on, or which I am on, will be on March 8th, and then Public Works will be held on April 12th. So those meetings are coming up in the next few months. What I do want to mention real quick, as we're talking about boards and communications and committee reports, is we have some openings on our boards and commissions here that we still need to fill. And those will be due, all applications are due by February 16th at 4:30 to the Clerk of Council, Shannon Collins. Right now, we have Board of Zoning Appeals, we have Ward 5, we need a candidate. The Districting Commission, we have Wards 1, 2, 3, or 5. Those are open. The Environmental Commission, we need 4 more applicants. Those are not ward specific. And the Parks and Recreation Committee, Ward 5, and also a team rep. So anybody interested, please, yes,
You're done.
okay. Anybody interested, please turn in your application to Shannon by February 16th at 4:30.
Just to clarify, Mr. Scafidi, there are openings still. You can still apply for the other ones. So to see the full list, just go to the city website. Those are ones we just don't have anybody who has applied as of today.
Oh, okay. So that, I got to clarify. Other than that, that's it. That's all I have, and happy birthday, Karen. Glad we get to spend it with you, and I'm sure you love being here with us.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll move on to Mrs. Walker.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My community relations meeting couldn't meet due to the snow. And also, I'm, with the Chamber of Commerce, being the council rep, I was informed that they no longer need a council rep for the Chamber of Commerce. And I don't know if you want to give me another committee to be on.
Okay.
But right now the chamber's out.
Okay.
They don't need us anymore. That's all I have to report.
All right, thank you. Thanks. Mr. Bellin.
Thank you. Good evening. None of my committees have met since our last meeting. As Mr. Fury alluded to, the Finance Committee meeting will be on Tuesday, February 22nd, 5:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Safety Committee will be on Tuesday, March 8th at 6 p.m. Golf Advisory Board will be on March 15th at 6:30 p.m. And Public Works will be on Tuesday, April 12th at 6 p.m. Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I share one with them?
That's it. Yeah, let me go through this and I'll go back to it. Mrs. Labby.
Thank you, Sam. Good evening, everyone. I aspire to talk like Greg Bellin, so someday I'm going to get there. I attended the Justice, Equity, and Diversion half-day work session on January 26th. I thought the program was very well put together. I did like the person who did it. I personally was looking for a little more answers for the committee to go forward. So hopefully in our next session in March that we'll get some actual action items to address. I attended the Twins Days committee meeting February 2nd. The big announcement there was their theme this year, which is Welcome, the number 2 to the jungle. It is in August. I wrote it down somewhere, and I can't find it. August 5th, I think, to the 7th. It is their 47th festival. So the next meeting is March 9th. I'll attend the CIC meeting on this coming Thursday, and I wanted to congratulate Laura, is it Cipher? I want to say her name.
Cipher, right.
Cipher.
Mm-hmm.
We got a beautiful letter from Jennifer Benson, who's the head of Parks and Rec, from seniors, saying what a great job she did. She was out shoveling for the seniors and just above and beyond. So it's a wonderful thing. As far as the plowing goes, I did have the opportunity to call because I had residents, just little complaints. And there was an exorbitant amount of snow. So that into account, I did talk to Dennis Zabowski. I left a message. He got back to me. They addressed the problems, and both residents were very, very happy with the response. I can't take credit for it. As I was talking to him, the plow showed up, and so she's like, "Thank you so much." And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't really do anything." As far as the openings, I had asked Shannon also to list the openings. I want to say, please get involved. You know those commercials where you turn into your parents? I'm going to turn into my parents. My good friend Diana McShannon gave me these Gracies every day. So the one I had yesterday was, don't complain about things you're not willing to change. All right? And the second was today, my birthday, so get ready. Today could be the beginning of anything you want. So sign up, participate. You want to be here, aspire to be here, have at it. I think it's a wonderful thing. So that's all I have today.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Post, you had one thing.
Yeah, I just want to add in that tomorrow, thank you, tomorrow night there is a Rotary Club meeting. The Rotary is a Were you going to mention that, Shannon? I don't
No,
know.
go for it.
That's not normally probably mentioned at council meetings that I see, but the Rotary, I went to my first meeting last week because I want to join and I want to help and make this community even better. And Shannon does a great job with that and runs a heck of a meeting. It's worth the show. Just you might as well go just for that. It is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the VFW again. And the Rotary does a lot of great things in the community, the flag program and just all kinds of things, and it's a great way to get involved, feel part of an organization as well. I know we have all these committees, but that is another one that the meetings used to always be during the day at lunchtime, and now they are at night, Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock at the VFW. So anybody who is interested in that, they're now in the evenings to accommodate people who work during the day. Just thought I'd mention that. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the mayor's report.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just a few things. We've got our seasonal posting up, so we're looking for all our seasonal hires. Last year, we were a little bit challenged trying to get those going. We're looking at doing another job fair. We did that last year, and that really helped out. We're hoping that with some of the changes we made into starting rates and different things last year, that hopefully with the posting this year, we can go ahead and fill most of those, but we may look at a job fair that we'll announce in the future. I just want to say thanks to our service department. I mean, they've done a fantastic job in some of these storms. We've gotten hit pretty hard. I was talking to a couple of guys today. I did, Sue, talk with our service department and mentioned Jaron and the work that he did, and our guys really do take a lot of care in what they do around the city. Sometimes it gets crazy, and I actually went and rode for a couple hours with one of our guys in one of our 5 tons, and I can tell you that's physically, and mentally, what they go through in a 5-ton truck plowing our streets is pretty intense. So be patient with our guys, and they do a really good job out there. And I know they've had a challenging season so far. We actually, Mark actually went out with us. So one of the things that we're looking at is just ways to potentially look at some of the cul-de-sacs and how we plow those. So we actually have drone footage of us plowing cul-de-sacs, and so we may work together and put out a little kind of informational piece to the residents through social media that kind of shows that in action and what they try to do. Just sometimes with cul-de-sacs and really main roads also, or straight roads, when we get 18 inches of snow overnight and they're plowing for the first time, we're gonna leave some in driveways, but they still do a good job, and they really know what they're doing on the cul-de-sac, some of the seasoned guys. But we do have some newer drivers that are learning, but they're picking it up quick. So I just wanted to give a kind of a shout out to them. They did a really good job these past couple storms. And then Laura Seifer, I mean, this was just, we could probably mention her about every week, every other week at council meeting. She's just been such a great addition to our senior center. The seniors love her. I get emails frequently that just says something she's done above and beyond. I know during COVID, when the senior center was shut down, we kept her busy, and she just picked up rags and was cleaning at the fitness center and doing whatever we needed her to do. But she's been great for our seniors, and to have her go dig out a car at Arbor Glen just to help somebody out, in her off hours is, says a lot by the dedication she has to our city. I haven't really talked much about COVID. I think we've kind of all been tired of talking about COVID, but we're on calls every couple of weeks with the county. Cases have gone down dramatically. A month ago we were at 29,000 cases, I think, for the day. Now we're starting to see those dramatically drop, especially in the county. You're seeing that same trend, and hopefully we see that trend continue, and then we can head into our warmer months in a much better spot than what we've been through this past winter. But if there's any significant updates, I'll keep council and the city up to date. I wanted to talk a little bit about, we've kind of quietly finished our year end, and it's been briefly mentioned, but, in 2015 and 16, we actually spent more than our revenues. And we've been working on the budget hard. Council's been working on the budget hard. And so we've got ourselves into a much better situation where we've been able to grow a little bit of the reserves. And so this past year, we finished the year, we had 11.8 million beginning in our general fund, and we finished with 12.4. Our revenue was 26.4, and our expenditures were 25.8. So for the first time, we we spent less than we took in revenue. Total budget in terms of our total balance, we started with 23.4 and finished with 30.1. So the city's in a much better position than it was a few years ago. Part of that is, through the millage that got approved by the residents, but a lot of it is through the work of our finance director, council, and our department heads, just really leaning up our operations. We run a really lean operation here. Sometimes it feels a little bit too lean, but the city does a really good job providing the services that we provide. Especially in Northeast Ohio, and the amenities provide, we do a lot with the dollars that we have to spend. So I just wanted to mention that. And thank all those that made that happen. And that's all I have. Well, happy birthday, Karen. You'll find that like every birthday and every anniversary, you're going to be sitting in that seat. It just, some reason it just happens. So there's many nights that council have wished their wives or husband's happy anniversary because they're sitting here, But anyway, I just wish you the best. All right, we have a few department head reports. Keith, you want to start?
Sure. I have public works meeting on my birthday.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I have a few things, current events, some questions that have come up recently, some of our long-term projects and some of the projects you see around town. And I guess I'll start with snow plowing, since Ms. Clark brought that up. And it was also brought up by Councilperson Levy. We do and have been registering contractors for snow plowing. Typically, they're landscapers and snow plowers, same type of contractor. We do know, reading the ordinance, it does say a sticker. When we issue a registration for all these contractors, they get a certificate that says they're registered with the city. They can always have that handy if anybody asks. They should have it handy if anybody asks. But we are going to move forward and actually purchase a sticker or something of some sort that's pretty visible and exposed so that somebody could see a vehicle is clearly registered. We could also get feedback then from those people who see these trucks that are not registered and let us know, and we'll try to follow up on those to help. I know that obviously with the amount of snow we had, we received a bunch of calls, aside from some of the complaints about the snow, is who is a contractor. So we were distributing that list to everybody, and I think there might have been a dozen calls, not much more than that, in the 2 snow events that we had. So I think that helped. With our online permitting, we also have what's called the public portal. We're working to kind of fine tune that so that anybody can actually go into that and read or download reports of some of these listed contractors and other information related to the building department. So I'm hoping to have that kind of put together in the next month, but this project that we took on with the online permitting has been a godsend all the way around as far as our efficiency, but it's a very daunting task to manipulate and get it to do exactly what we want. So we're working to that end. A couple of the topics I'd like to bring up. I know that some of the council members have called me directly. The mayor and I have talked about them, the law department. It's been an ongoing process. The first property, I guess, I'd bring up would be the Benzie property. Most are familiar with this. I know a lot of the community calls all the time. It's the brown house just past middle school and high school on the east side of Ravenna Road. Excuse me. This house was condemned on June 6th of 2021. My understanding when our former law director was here, that some of these cases were not being heard in the Stowe courts, which is our court system. Because it's a housing case, it's a lower priority case. I know that since Matt's come on board, I've talked with him about this and others. We're trying to work in a direction that I believe everybody realizes it should go, to raise the property and make it marketable for future development improvements. that's what's happening with that. I guess short of all the details and nuances of the legal system, that's where we're headed. Matt could elaborate on that a little bit if he wants, but I'm confident that that's where it's going to be headed. The Blue Top property. This problem property was a problem before I got here a few years ago. It was condemned on January 7th of 2020. That is the same process. I think that was probably just preceding COVID. I think during that time there were many layoffs, and everything that transpired in that time has sort of just slowed significantly. But that, again, wouldn't make it to court because of the COVID situation and the priority of it. We also have the Lakeview Lodges, which is actually the same property owner. That property was condemned on March 3rd of 21. So I think we could hopefully get the trifecta this year, moving it forward. We've worked very hard, our department, my staff, everybody has put a lot of time into these projects. We don't want to see it not go to fruition. So I guess for peace of mind, that's where I stand. That's what I plan to do. A couple of the local establishments that have been started and are sort of out there. Again, as the mayor said, we don't need to mention COVID that many times, but the Tulum Mexican restaurant. This project I was pressuring since 2020. I saw that the project was already a year old. After I'd met on site then, the contractor and the owner have had a very tumultuous process. There's a high-end owner that's very concerned and meticulous. He's made multiple changes. The contractor has been very accommodating. I think we, in June of 2021, had them revise and resubmit all their projects. So they did pay some additional fees. I've put them in a position where if they do not move forward, they'll be renewing these fees. I met them on Monday, the owner and the construction manager. They assured me it would be a 90-day window. Now, I said, well, you need to park the bus in front of the building because we're all going to watch it move out when it's done. So the first thing I asked them to do was try and get the glazing in, the north elevation, so at least the appearance of physical building is there and it's active. So that's their priority. Hopefully we'll see something in a week with that. One of the other improvements down there in that area across the street to the north on Wilcox, the Burgers to Beer, the old Damon's restaurant. Some of these old buildings obviously sat, for whatever reason, they closed, franchisees, et cetera. You can, this list is endless. But the company that opened Sushi N, the same owners purchased this property in October of 21. I met with them Monday as well. They anticipate opening in 45 days. They're very close. They have fixturing. TVs are up. It's painted. They're sort of caught in the supply chain issue with some of their seating fixtures and cushions. So they're kind of held up with things that are beyond their control. So that's that. I know there's also another building across the street. I'm not sure what the name of that. Yeah. So we have been, Jason Pistorius in our department, he's very tenacious. I mean, we've had all these buildings under citation. So it is moving things in a direction that I think are positive for the community. And hopefully all this development will continue and become contagious throughout the community so that we end up with the new redevelopment that's headed that way and everything else. Just like the building that was raised at the corner, the old toy store Mercantile store. I mean, that's a nice new front end for a new company to come in with a new building and feature something nice in the center of town. So that's kind of an update on those things. I just wanted to bring up, I had a nice conversation with Mr. Baldwin. I know he appears here quite a bit. I talked with him for about a half hour. We talked about some of the hot issues he's brought up, the snow plowing, the blue top. He said, you know, he wasn't going to make it tonight because I thought I would meet him, but I just wanted to let you know I addressed his concerns because I know he's been here before you.
Did you get the grass cut? That's been one of his concerns for a long time over there.
We did talk about that, and you know, I'm going to highlight some of the things in some of the stats that I have. We were fortunate enough to get a good contractor, quality contractor, work for us for our abatement program. And I know we were a little rocky on the start because there were a couple of houses on the north end that we just couldn't seem to make it happen. And I think there was probably a 2.5 week period. I think one of the yards, the grass was extremely high. But once we got our contractor on board, it was perfect the rest of the season, and I think we're looking forward to a better season this year. I think he was referring to the blue top grass.
Correct. Yeah.
Which, you know, we do monitor it. I think it was probably borderline or close. I was reluctant to pull the trigger to send our guy there because it would have cost us a lot. Typically, we will assess the property for taxes. We rarely see that money. It may not be for years, and with that, I just thought I was throwing my money away, so we try to keep it in areas we think that we're going to move forward on. So I think there's bigger plans for that property anyways than just the grass. At least I'm optimistic. So just to point out a couple things, in our code enforcement cases, we did sort of like a precursory for the last few years. In 2018, we had 71 cases that were active. And I still see that and think that's just such a small amount for a city of this size. 2019, we had 120. We're, you know, there. 2020, we had 89. Obviously, we were closed for a month and not too many people were in. Well, in 2021, we had 306 cases. So with this program and our staff, and we are understaffed, as the mayor mentioned, we have less than we had when we were working previously. We had 2 full-time inspectors, a part-timer, and 2 part-time and mids. So we also have cited them for fees. Now, in that 2018 year of 71 cases, we collected 57% of the fees that we assessed. Of the 306, we were slightly below that, but we were 49% of the 306. So we are still, even though our volume's gone up, I think our efficiency of collection is higher, even though the number may seem skewed. But we really have a process in place where we can actively and daily in real time see where each property is, which is very beneficial for us. I'm sorry, so that number, the 49% was cases closed, not invoiced. The cases closed, there's 49% of the 306, and 71 cases that were 57% closed. But obviously, it's a much smaller number than that year. Our actual code enforcement invoicing is at almost 77% of assessment. So we're actually collecting the dollars before it goes to the county assessment on those. Our total contribution in income and permits was just over $1 million this year, which is significant. I know the mayor mentioned 26.4 mil for our income, so I guess we at least contributed to some of that. In 2018, I think the number we have here is 470,162. So in the 4 years, that's a tremendous increase. With that, there were $85 million in valuation added to the community, which is a good bolstering improvement for this town. It's nice to see that. We also are, again, collecting our 1% and 2% or 3% that goes to the state of Ohio, which we were originally withdrawing that from our income, and thanks to you that passed that ordinance, we're collecting that through our permit fees, which is saving the city money on top of just the collection. Interestingly enough, in 2020, the activity of the 1% fees, we pulled in about $39,000 in permit fees for residential projects. That's only projects that fall within the building code. So that was when most people were home, and the number of decks we saw and renovations at homes, that's reflected there. I think our reporting is much more timely too, as I think Sarah could attest to with those. Our point of sales, in 2018, we had 241. We collected $12,000 in fees, and in 2021, we had 271 point of sales for $13,550. So even with the high market of real estate, the city still is maintaining their stock, even though that's a pretty low number to see turning for point of sales. And last, for our contractors, as I was talking about the snowplow contractors, we had $58,943 in fees collected, totaling it's 786 contractors. So of those, I saw even today that 15 of those were snowplow landscape contractors. So they are getting registered. I think we could get a little bit more feedback and increase that number if the public reinforces the requirements. I think that would make a difference on who you see and the quality of work with snow plowing. That's pretty much all I have. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any.
One quick one. If someone doesn't pull a permit, I know if someone doesn't pull a permit and they're doing business here and we catch them doing that, is there a deterrent, or will they be like, you know, when they do have to pull that permit, then do they get charged like double for a permit? I know in cities where I have rental properties that if I don't pull a permit for something, not that I would ever do that, and you know, if I get caught or anyone gets caught, you know, the permit's doubled. I would never do that, but I'm just curious if we have anything in place like that.
Well, I'm reluctant to disclose that we don't, but we do actively pursue. I think we feel that as long as they're getting the permit, we're at least benefiting from that. There is other communities I've worked in, and I know other communities do charge heavy penalties for permitting. In some of those cases, I think what I've seen is less of a deterrent to keep people from pulling permits, but I think it actually increases some of that under the radar activity, because getting caught, typically we're working Monday through Friday. We're not working on the weekends, which is most of the fly-by-nights will come in on a Saturday or Sunday, or they'll come in the evening. So they obviously know, and obviously in the community you're referring to, or any of those communities, most contractors communicate just as everybody else does. They know when to go and when not to go, and I don't know if it necessarily provides a benefit to the community as far as collecting permit fees. I think with us, it actually, we at least inform them, they'll come in and get the permits knowing there's no real fee. We're still charging them fee rates, which is another issue we could discuss in the coming year as far as fees, because those typically would get adjusted over time. But I think you're getting the people to actually pull the permits, and we're actually having the opportunity then to see the job through in compliance, which I think is better than the alternative.
How much is a snowplow permit?
It's $10 is what the permit fee is for the snowplow permit. But to register, they register like every other contractor. They have a bond and a registration. It's a $75 fee for the entire year, and then they have to have the bonding with city requirements.
So $75 plus $10 per house, or $10 per
per contractor, and then the sticker fee is a $1 fee. So I guess when I started, I didn't see any stickers, and we did talk about it, but we felt that the registration was enough of a identification to provide, but evidently that's not the case. So we'll make sure that we follow, the letter and make sure they get their stickers. And even if they have subcontractors or they're going to sub out the job to somebody when their vehicles break down, they're going to have to purchase the stickers for them. Yeah, $1. It's pretty.
I was just curious.
Negligible.
Okay, anybody? Thanks.
Thank you, Keith.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to go? Those one. Yeah, I have two. Those two.
Good evening.
Hi, Chief.
Mr. Labby, happy birthday. So, as you can see, I invited a couple guests here while I give my report, and you'll see why here in a minute. So for January, our total calls for service were 2,197. Some of the calls are note. We had a felonious assault with serious physical harm, 1 count of that. 10 counts of driving under suspension or without a valid license. 6 for operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol or drugs. 4 warrants served. 1 for violating a protection order. Total number of people arrested or cited, 82, and the total number of counts is 55, and 70 total written warnings for the month of January. So as far as traffic crashes go, we had 25 total investigated traffic crashes, 21 were non-injury, 3 were injury crashes, 1 was private property, and 0 fatal crashes. I'd like to make you guys all aware that Nicholas Weslowski and Riley Powers were hired as cadets, and they started with our department on the 31st. They hung around our department for a week, got to ride with some of the men and women of the department, get a little familiar with us, our equipment, the station. They got to meet maybe even some of you folks. And they started the academy this Monday. So we're very excited to have them. And, I'm very pleased, too. We had 2 major significant, or a little redundant, 2 significant snow events to date, as you're aware and as we've discussed. From a police department and safety forces standpoint, I couldn't be happier with the way things went. I think we had excellent communication with the service department. I've given them all the kudos I can, every chance I get. I think they did a really good job. They were prepared. Again, the communication aspect between ourselves and them is as good as it's ever been. So we didn't have any major accidents. Everybody fared well throughout the event, so I'm very happy about that. So every time I come up, I try and let council know how just in awe I am of the men and women that work in the department. So here's yet another example. I'm looking for a more formal way to recognize these officers, but I'm going to read this to you. This is from Sergeant Pat Quinn. He wrote it to me, and this is back on the 21st. I'd like to recognize the efforts of officers Wayne, Gist, and Bartulovic on their actions during a medic call on 1/20/22 at the senior apartments. We responded there for a report of a male down in the parking lot not breathing. Officer Bartulovic arrived on scene first and did not hesitate to commence CPR on the male. Officers Wayne and Gist arrived and applied the AED to the subject. Officer Gist took over the compressions while Officer Bartulovic assisted the caller, which is the subject's girlfriend, to her cruiser to stay warm. The fire department arrived on scene and took over life-saving efforts. The male was transported to Ahuja Hospital. Officer Bartulovic transported the caller. We were later advised by the FD that the male regained a pulse and a stable heart rhythm, and his blood pressure was exactly where it needed to be. Sergeant Quinn noted these officers acted in the utmost professionalism to save an individual's life, and he believes without their actions, the male would not have survived. I have to agree. Just a couple stats for you in going through the call card on this call. So the call was received by our dispatch center at 22:48 or 10:48 p.m., almost 10:49. The dispatcher started initiating or walking the caller through CPR instructions at the same time they dispatched our officers. So our officers were dispatched at 22:49, basically within a minute of receiving that call and assessing the situation and giving CPR instruction. The officers arrived, so that was, let's see, dispatched within 1 minute of giving the CPR instructions, they were dispatched. Within 2 minutes, our officers were on scene. Within 2 minutes of that, the AED was advising to give a shock. And any of you have any familiarity with an AED, it's a serious situation if it's telling you to shock. So within a grand span of 4 to 5 minutes, the officers were on scene and already working life-saving measures. And I invited the officers up here tonight because they're on duty, and I just wanted to have a face to the name. So, Officer Terry Wayne, Officer Libby Batule, Officer Rodney Gist. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you very much.
That's my report.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, thanks, Chief. All right. Chief, you want to come up?
So who's protecting our streets right now?
Eat that.
They took over.
For firemen, right?
What's that?
But it was really the firemen?
Well, it's a team effort. It's a team effort. We have monthly, we have opportunities to save lives, and our medics do a great job in all sorts of different circumstances. And sometimes it's not, what we get to do a lot of is not necessarily change lives, but affect the quality of people's lives. And, or not, yeah. And it's, it's a great sense of honor and a pride that the guys get out of providing that service. Anyway, for the fire department, for the month of January, we had 361 calls for service. And I think if you remember last month, when I reported then, we were on the pace to hit 400. The first couple of weeks of January was just crazy, but things tapered off a little bit, and we settled in at 361 calls, which is still 44% higher than last January. So we significant increase in EMS calls compared to the previous year. But that is, as I said, starting to taper off a little bit. The guys are always mad when I mention that because they think I'm jinxing them, and then they end up having a bunch of calls. But the last year's monthly average was 285 for the whole year. So we started out this year with 361 in January. So we'll see where it goes from there. We also completed 16 fire inspections, different kinds, the annual inspections, re-inspections, and also inspecting alarms, sprinkler systems, and hood systems. We also worked on 5 fire investigations. Over 99 training sessions, totaling 451 hours of training. One of the key training issues in January was a hazmat refresher course. We had the majority of our people go through that. The city and the township still have a very significant hazmat profile in our industrial complex, and so we try to stay prepared to handle those situations. And let's see. As far as notable events that happened in January, and I'll just give you, I'm going to highlight a 3-day span where on January 13th at 1 o'clock in the morning, almost 2 o'clock in the morning, we sent an engine company mutual aid to Streetsboro for a working house fire. And the crew spent about 2 hours there assisting Streetsboro. Unfortunately, that fire did result in the death of a resident of the household. The very next day, on the 14th, at 6 o'clock in the morning here, we had a fire at Burger King. Unfortunately, the suppression system in the hood did not
completely extinguish a fire, so our guys were able to get there and complete the extinguishment. Basically, the hood system and the fire systems were affected by that, and as you're probably aware, Burger King is still closed, looking for replacement parts and materials and equipment to get back in service. But we were thankful to have mutual aid from Macedonia and Hudson EMS. And then on the next day, on the 15th, we again responded to Streetsboro mutual aid for a working house fire. So in the course of 3 days, having our guys present at 3 fires, it's out of the ordinary for our crews. But in that same 3-day span, we had over 33 EMS calls. So just a busy several days. Some points of interest, we did the weather warning siren test on the 5th. We're still having issues with those 2 sites and waiting on parts. That seems to be a trend. On the personnel side of things, I do want to mention that on the 16th, we're having a lieutenant's promotional exam. That's something that now is going to happen every 2 years based on contractual language. And so that's coming up next week. And I also wanted to highlight the accomplishments of one of our firefighters, Joe Sugar. He is one of the SWAT medics for Metro SWAT. And this beginning of the year, he was named the head medic for the team. So he's very active on the team and does a handful of call-outs every month and helps out with the Metro team. But he's also, we've been asked to have him be utilized for the Ohio State Highway Patrol's SWAT team when they're operating in the area because they don't have other medics available to them. So just want to congratulate Joe for the work he's doing in that realm. Last month when I reported, I mentioned also the ladder 2 was out of service because of brake issues. It took a while to get the parts in, but it is finally back together and in service. And the COVID menace continues. We are on the downhill side of that as well. We had 2 more guys, 2 more individuals sick in the beginning of January, and that seems to have tapered off now in our workforce as well. And that's all I have to report this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you.
All right. Sarah?
Good evening, Council. I'll keep it pretty short tonight. Just a couple things. At Finance Committee later this month, we're going to have budget presentations from engineering. She'll also talk about infrastructure. We've got economic development and the building department. And we're also going to have a discussion on multi-year capital planning. We keep a 5-year schedule citywide. Some of the departments do go a little farther out. And then the main thing that I just wanted to talk about was the Regional Income Tax Agency. So the city filing is open and there's forms online for refund. So I am getting a lot of calls on folks that work from home. And it's either way, whether you live in Twinsburg or vice versa. And that's ritaohio.com. That's all I have.
All right, that's all we have.
Anything else, Mayor? Okay, thank you. Thank you for all the reports. Department heads. We will move on to legislation. We have Resolution 10, 2022.
A resolution acknowledging council's receipt and review of the monthly financial statements submitted by the Finance Department for October, November, and December 2021.
I want to make a motion to adopt Resolution 10, 2022. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby? Yes. Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 10, 2022 passes 7-0. We have Ordinance 11, 2022.
An ordinance amending Chapter 1173, signs of the codified ordinances of the City of Twinsburg.
Okay, and this will stand on its first reading. We have Resolution 12, 2022.
A resolution confirming the Planning Commission's determination that kennel is a similar use to the uses permitted in the I-2 Industrial District.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 12, 2022. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Sorry.
Mrs. Walker. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Is there any discussion? All right, Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Resolution 12, 2022 passes 7-0. Ordinance 13, 2022.
An ordinance adopting and approving the Stormwater Management Program for Twinsburg as presently on file with the city engineer of the official Stormwater Management Program of the city of Twinsburg and declaring an emergency.
Okay. Are we voting on that tonight?
We are not voting. We're going to read it 3
That's
times.
just-
The
that's
emergency
the
will be on
one,
the
yeah,
third.
we got on first reading. Okay. Yeah, that emergency threw me tonight. New way of doing things. Next, we have ordinance 14, 2022.
An ordinance accepting.
I know, that's why I said it.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Parent Asphalt Company for the 2022 road improvement project and declaring an emergency.
Okay, at this time, I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place ordinance 14, 2022 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. May I have a second?
I second.
Mrs. Walker seconds. Reason for the emergency is to get the contract in place for the upcoming season. This ordinance is, the total on it is approximately 1.5 million, and the breakdown is 1.3 million going toward road resurfacing, about 50,000 going toward our sidewalk repair, and about 109,000 for the fitness center parking lot. So that's how all that money breaks down. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 14, 2022 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Labby seconds.
We need to vote
Discussion.
on the suspension first.
I'm sorry.
We need to vote on the suspension.
Oh, we didn't call the roll on that?
No, we
I'm
did
sorry.
not.
Call the roll on the suspension.
Thank you. Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, now I would make a motion to adopt ordinance 14, 2022 as an emergency. And
Second.
Mrs.
Oh,
Mrs. Labby second.
I thought we were
Okay.
starting over.
Oh, I did.
It's her birthday, she gets a second.
Second word.
Any discussion on the adoption? Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 14, 2022 passes 7-0 as an emergency. We have unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous. Mr. Barr.
Happy birthday. That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bellin.
I would just like to wish Mrs. Labby a very happy birthday. Thank you for hanging out with us. I appreciate it. Nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Post.
I just want to talk about the snow for a second. The service department did do a fantastic job last few weeks. It's crazy, a lot of people might not leave Twinsburg, especially elderly that don't drive anywhere or staying and whatever, but anyone who goes out and sees other cities know that they don't all look like this. They don't all look like this. And they worked around the clock. And to me, it's like a miracle when you go to bed and it's crazy and you wake up, you're like, oh my God, there's a road, But I do, in reference to the sidewalks, every city out there, I think, is just bombarded with snow, and it's like there's no way around it sometimes. But I just wanted to thank you, Ms. Clark, for, bringing it up sometimes and working with the building department and, brainstorming, just, being an advocate and just constantly mentioning it. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And I know Mr. Baldwin does a lot, coming up here and talking as well. So, and I know you addressed it with him. So it's nice to see that residents, can make a little difference. I appreciate that. So thank you.
That it?
That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Fury.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
All right, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, I do have something to say. Thank you. As everyone knows,
Happy birthday.
February in the city of Twinsburg is celebrating Black History Month. And February 1st marks the beginning of Black History Month, a period of collective observance, celebrating and acknowledgement of the contributions and accomplishments of Black Americans. And I would like to recognize 3 African-American young men. And one is Anthony White. He's a 1999 graduate of Twinsburg High School. He graduated from Kentucky State University. He played college football, and he also played for the Arizona Cardinals. Number 2 is Kelly Herndon, and I think they live in Nevada now. He's a graduate of Twinsburg and the University of Toledo. He played for the New York Giants, Denver Broncos, Seattle Seahawks, and the Tennessee Titans. And the third one, and everybody should know his name is James Posey, and he was the assistant coach for the Cavs, I think around 2015, 2016. Sorry about that. And he's a 1999 Chamberlain graduate, drafted by the NBA in 1999. James Posey played for the Denver Nuggets, the Miami Heat, Boston Celtics, New Orleans Hornets, Indiana Pacers, Houston Rockets, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Posey won the NBA championship as a member of the 2006 Miami Heat and 2008 Boston Celtics. Currently, he also assists coach for the Cavs in 2016. So for those of you who did not go to Twinsburg schools, we have a lot accomplished. We have a lot of great people. We have basketball players, football players, we have doctors, we have lawyers. We have great people in the city of Twinsburg. So I thought that I would just take the Black history and talk about the history of the city of Twinsburg and what they have done for the students here. And by the way, I think Shannon's a graduate of Twinsburg schools, and so am I. So
Nice.
thank you, yes, for giving me a few minutes.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Mrs. Levy.
I'm going to attend the CIC meeting this coming Thursday. We're very excited to hear what they have to say about that. Thank you for your birthday wishes. Love to be reminded. But I do appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Okay. And then under my report, I would like to make a motion that the City Council does not oppose the new liquor permit for the Hong Hai properties located at 8941 Wilcox Drive and authorize the clerk to submit the form to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. May I have a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. This is for the new D5I permit. Any other discussion on that? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Mayor?
Nothing further from me this evening.
Okay, Mr. Vazana?
Happy birthday, Councilwoman. Nothing further from me either.
Okay, Shannon Collins?
Happy birthday, Mrs. Labby. The three gentlemen that Mrs. Walker talked about, I was fortunate to go to high school with them and watch them play then. They were amazing then. They were amazing in their professional careers. But also I want to mention the Jackson twins that are the twin doctors from Twinsburg. So,
Next time.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Booth-Grass, any final comments? Any last words of wisdom?
Happy birthday. And also, I do want to say thank you to Nate Zeke, our new wastewater superintendent. I went out there today to go over some financial information. He gave me a tour of the whole plant, pointed out where those big financial investments are going to come in over the next 5 years or so. It was just really enlightening. I learned a lot, and he was great. So thanks to Nate.
Good. Okay. Then at this time, I would like to make a motion to enter into an executive session to discuss matters pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code 121.22, 1-2, under personnel and land. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion? Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay, the public portion of the meeting is ended. After the executive session, we will reconvene and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.